Alright, so for the last couple of days, we worked on finding the limits. We used the table, I think, which is kind of tedious. And we also use the graph, like we use a graphing calculator to see the graph and so on. I think that takes pretty tedious too, because you need to take time to graph them out and all that stuff. So, alright, so remember if you use a table for something like this, again, you don't have to copy this, just pay attention. I'm recording this, I'll post this video later on. If you use a table, it says you need to find a x that is getting closer to 0. So what numbers would you use for your table? Can you give me a sample number that is close to 0? Like 0.00001 or negative 0.00001. And I think, again, we're not going to use those numbers because we're already wasting too much time. And remember, this is a linear, what type of function is this? This is a linear function, right? You get a line like this. At 0, you want to know how much you're getting closer to and how much you're getting closer to. And you want to find the y value, which is your limit. Remember all this stuff? This is what we worked on so far. But there should be a shortcut to this. It's got to be a shortcut, because on the AP exam, you don't have 2-3 minutes on particular problem. You have less than a minute and a half per problem. Does that make sense? So you need to answer these questions quickly, all right? And these questions are one of the easier ones. The harder ones you're going to spend about 2 to 3 minutes on. These ones you're going to spend like 10 seconds, maybe less, all right? So shortcut is using direct substitution. All right, direct substitution just means that you can think of x to be 0 and directly substitute x with 0. So you go 3 times 0 plus 8, then that will be 8. And this is your answer. This is your limit. How easy was that? Instead of using the table, instead of using the graph, you just have to directly substitute. Okay, how many of you guys follow what I just did? Easy stuff, right? But direct substitution doesn't always work out, okay? Sometimes, if you try to use a direct substitution for something like this, you see this number 3, again, just pay attention to me. You don't have to copy anything, all right? Just pay attention. If I happen to use direct substitution, do you see this 6? If I directly substitute 6 squared, right, because this is x, right, minus 36 over 6 minus 6. 6 squared is 36 minus 36 over 6 minus 6. So what is that? 0 over 0. But what is 0 over 0? Anybody know the answer to 0 over 0? It is not 0. This is, nobody knows? Undefined. Okay, this is undefined. You're not allowed to divide by 0. This is a no-no. Okay, you cannot divide by 0. You can have a 0 on the top, but you're not allowed to have the 0 on the bottom. So we call it an undefined. So what does that mean? We have no limit? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that you haven't. Remember, some of the graph had open circle. Remember that? It just means that you have some type of open circle there at 6. Okay. It's not closed, it's disconnected, that's all. All right, and we're going to talk about continuous and discontinuity later on, but for now, it is undefined. So you don't say limit does not exist, because there might be a limit. Even though you have open circle, we're getting closer to that circle from the left side and so on. Remember, we found a value that is really close, right? As long as they're really close to each other, it could be like 1.49999, other one could be 1.59999, but they're close to each other. All right, so there should be another way. So direct substitution does not work for this case. So how do I do this? We use what is called simplifying method. We want to simplify. That's why during the summertime we learn how to factor. So we have limit x goes to 6 x squared minus 36 over x minus 6. Is the numerator factorable, top factorable? Yeah, I hope so. I hope you guys know that this is a difference of two squares. What is it if you factor that? X plus 6 and x minus 6. And factoring is so important that your answer has to come out. If you're sitting there and they're doing those cross and trying to guess what these numbers are, then you're already in a, yeah, you're going to have a hard time. Like factoring, it should be automatic. So bottom we have x minus 6. Is there anything that we can simplify or cancel? X minus. All right, so when you simplify this, we only get x plus 6. Does that make sense? Now, once you simplify, you can use direct substitution. All right, once you simplify, you can use direct substitution. This is 6 plus 6. So your limit is 12. That's kind of nice, isn't it? All right, so hold on a second, okay? All right, let me pause this. All right. Continue. All right, here we go. Let me erase some of these things. So, all right, so I want you to remember that during the summertime, we went over special types of factoring, like difference of squares and sum of the cubes and difference of cubes. Remember those things? Anybody remember sum of the cubes and difference of cubes? You guys remember that? Remember the acronym that we use for sum of the cubes and difference of cubes? SOAP. Remember how to use SOAP? Like same, opposite, always positive. Okay, so if you take a look at number 6, all right, do you see this right here? Do you see this right here? This one? All right, so if you look at this on the top, guess what? This is difference of cube. Remember that a cubed minus b cubed? And you need to factor this out and see if it's, like, if you can cancel it or not, okay? All right, does that make sense? And here it is too, right here. Do you see it right there? Do you see that? You want to use those things. Now, on the AP exam, you will see difference of cubes in some of the cubes, just like you're seeing them here. That's why you need to memorize them. All right? Sometimes you get something complicated like this, where, you know, is that even factorable? Square root of x minus 3 over x minus 9. Is there any, well, this one is okay because this is 4, but what if this 4 was 9 instead of 4? Then it's undefined. Does that mean it doesn't exist? No, you need to find it. It is factorable. Anybody know how to factor this? Even though it's x minus 9, it is factorable. Anybody know how to factor? You need to look at this as your guide. It would be square root of x minus 3 and square root of x plus 3. Okay, how many of you guys see that? Okay, so things like that, okay? So like you're going to see some factoring that you haven't seen in integrated 3. As a calculus student, you need to know how to kind of manipulate your factoring, all right? So learn how to develop those skills. All right, we have a really short lesson today. That was it. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes to work on this. I think some of you guys will finish it within 10 minutes. They're pretty easy. After that, we're going to fill out those ELAC forms. Okay, for this class, it will be Saturdays, but we're going to meet on weekends and Saturdays, okay? All right, so go ahead and start working on those things. Let me pause it. All right, now the second part, we're going to fill out your forms together. You have total of 6. I already told you that. Now, it looks different. I mean, it looks very similar, but these are all different. You're going to find fall 2021, summer 2021, winter 2022. Okay, so this part, I can write it in. This one should be, oh boy, it's not written on there. Okay, student ID, you can cross it out. And this one needs to be typed. All right. So, for example, you can open your PDF file, and if you have that tool feature, and then you can say edit PDF, and you can start writing text, and then you can put your last name here, first name there, and middle initial. Make sure you cross this out, and then you can click on these things if you want. Only part that you need to sign is the signature part, and if you cannot sign it, you can use font, you can use the text, but there is a font that looks like a signature font. You can use that. You can use any one of those where it kind of like, it looks like a signature rather than just, our normal font type. All right, now how many of you guys are having trouble with PDF? If you're having trouble with PDF, then you need to use the website called smallpdf.com. You need to use the website called smallpdf.com. All right, so smallpdf.com. All right. If you upload it to there, you can make any adjustments that you need. All right, so you can start filling this out. You need to fill out this last name, first name. You need to have the student birthday. You don't need to have the student ID. Just leave it blank. Okay, don't cross anything out. You need to check one of these things. You can put a check mark or you can put an X. It doesn't matter. Your gender, and then your phone number. Remember I told you your phone number should be your cell number. And then make sure your address is matching to school address. No one's going to check up on you. Are you enrolled in LA Community College? You have to say no. And then have you lived in California more than 1 year? Yes, that's right. And this is the only part that you need to sign. And then make sure you type the date there. All right, don't forget to do all those things. All right. Like I said, you have a total of 3 of them. You have a fall, summer, and winter, and you need to fill out the same way with all different forms. All right, so that's one of them. All right, the other one is something like this. All right, you don't have to fill out anything else. All right, leave everything below right here, leave it blank. All right, leave it blank. All right, you just need to fill out the top right here. You just need to fill this part out. You understand that? All right, same thing, signature right here. Yeah, this is the only part you need to fill out. All right, so you can sign here. Make sure you type the date here, and make sure you type your parent's name, and then signature here for your parent. Again, they don't have to sign it. If you don't have the pen feature, then you can also use type font again, but make sure it looks like one of those signature fonts, and it should be fine. And then type the date. Everything else you need to fill out over here. College student ID, this part you leave it blank. You don't have to fill this out. Okay, you leave it alone. And everything else you fill out. And anything below that, you do not do. All right? So that's the only part you need to fill out. Again, if you look at it carefully, you actually have 3 different forms. Okay, one of them is for summer, winter, and fall, so make sure you fill out all 3. All right, anybody need help with your PDF file? Anybody need some help? No? Okay, go ahead and fill out all of them. Only part you should leave blank is your parent's signature part. Okay, you go home and have them sign it today, and then you send it to my Remind. Okay, send it to Remind. If you cannot send it to my remind, send it to my email, but try to send it back to remind. Alright, so how many forms you need to fill out today? 6. You need to fill out a total of 6. Alright, everything should be typed in black color. Everything should be in black color. Right?